welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande and another installment of the Katy project. So you can see I've kind of gotten started on some of the groundwork already. I'm adding some grass work and stuff. And you know, I guess at the risk of sounding, I don't know what the word is, self-important, I guess I could talk a little bit about scenery theory. And I do not take myself seriously. You know, I mean, here I am, you know, messing around with this stuff, and I have not done enough of it to even kind of remotely consider myself any kind of expert or anything. But, you know, here's my thoughts from what I've already done already. I kind of think this kind of thing, there's two main elements I think that make good scenery. Now, these are my opinions, so take that, and maybe $5 might get you a cup of coffee, but it's color and texture. You know, if you were to wrap everything into, you know, kind of one or two things, it's color and texture. And, you know, concerning texture, I think texture can be pretty wide. Not that color can't be, but I think texture, just because of the way it is, you can get away with a lot wider variety in texture than you can color. And I'm sure my hand is going to be in the way. But, you know, with the color, I think subtle variations in color really is kind of like a whole nother level. If you only have one or two colors, and especially if those one or two colors are shades apart from each other, then you end up with something that maybe is less believable. Again, just my opinion. So what I'm trying to do here, and I don't know, you can kind of see I've got areas where I've have subtle changes in color. So like right here, let me move the camera or my work. You can see right through here, I've really got, you know, kind of 3 or 4 different colors going on. I've got this darker shade of earth, and then it turns to this lighter shade. And I've also got some of the red in there. And what I'm trying to do is just put this burnt grass color as a first layer. But what I don't want to do is completely cover up any one of those colors, so that you can you got green, you've got the darker brown, then you've got the lighter brown. And so therefore you've got a nice subtle variation of change of colors. You know, now the green obviously is drastically different, but I'm deliberately putting the green on top of the darker soil, but then leaving just a little bit of that dark, so that it pulls the eye and makes it a little more credible, I guess. I don't know, but that's what I'm trying to do. And the same thing, you know, concerning texture. You know, if you've got a little buildup of the ground foam, and then sparser areas where you've got variation of height, that helps, because, you know, not everything is, even in your own lawn, you're going to have variation of height and color. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm just kind of working in areas here where I think there might be grass that would grow as a first layer. And because it's such a pain to film any of this, I'm probably going to work and come back and just kind of show you how things go from time to time. I've finished up my first vertical pass. That's kind of the way I like to think of it. You know, again, talking about color and texture, the ground foam and the dirt, that's all, you know, horizontal. There's just not a lot of variance in the up and down when you work with those things, unless you're, you know, doing rock faces, obviously. But then when you start adding, you know, bushes and taller grass, now you're working the vertical. So I think right now I like the way everything's looking, and it's one of those things, it's all by taste, right? I think for me, I like to do a little bit, make sure I don't overdo it in my first pass, because you can do that, where you, especially if you've got a lot of this material, which I'll share in a minute, but if you've got a lot of stuff available to you, you can very easily in a, you know, I think this is more or less 18 by 10 inches, you could overdo it easily. So I've stopped. You know, you can see I haven't done anything in front here. I also haven't done anything in front of the track. I like the idea of being able to see some of the ballast work. So, you know, it's just going to be a matter of adding a little bit at a time, doing it and coming back. Now, you know, kind of my evaluation about, as I'm looking at it right now, one of the things I seem to be missing is groundwork also in the vertical. In other words, all of my talus is really small except for what I did on the backside here. I think there should be some more stuff, you know, on the ground that makes the ground not, it almost looks like it's swept. You know, if you get down at eye level, I think there should be at least a few more places where you've got larger talus on the ground. I guess we can take a look at kind of what it looks like without the models. I haven't gone through and massaged out any of this stuff yet, because some of it's going to come up probably with a vacuum cleaner, and that's okay. So I haven't done very much of this pinch and stab stuff. I've worked with this a little bit already. I got a little flower there that hopefully will kind of draw the eye. So, you know I need to add some stuff up here as far as greenery goes. I think this ledge right here probably needs a little bit of something, maybe this corner right here. I want to find some pictures first, or some rocks that have this kind of material on it. That's not even glued in yet. That's just an idea. You know, so I for sure don't want to overdo it either. And then the next thing, I got two other elements. You know, I'll probably finish this up in one or two more passes as far as the flora goes. But I've got the river, and I'm going to add a tree, and that will probably call it good. So we'll see where we go next. I've gotten started on a couple of trees. Now, this one I've had for a while, and this one, which is really sad, I built the other night watching TV with the wife. And, you know, there might be 5 or 6 of you out there that aren't watching boomer dioramas, but if you're not, and you're wanting the go-to for finely modeled trees, my channel is not it. Go check out dozens of videos by Boomer on how he does trees. And, you know, there's a variety of ways that it can be done. And I think Boomer covers all of them. So what I've done is, you know, it's a wire armature. You can see here how it was shaped, just twisting wire together. And, you know, I started with this sawdust. And what I discovered is that to me it was just too big. And I also thought, well, you know, I've got this stuff here, and this is sawdust specifically from the masonite, you know, like my spline and fascia material. And you can see if you sift it, it ends up being nice and fine. In fact, this would be really nice dirt work if you could get enough of it. And I think, you know, I've saved a little bit of this. I didn't really think about it until kind of late in the game. If I would have thought about it, you know, day one, when I cut my very first piece of spline, I'd have saved every bit of this and kept it as clean as I can. But you can see you end up with, you know, this material, same stuff, it's been sifted. So, and I think that works really nice as tree bark. So that's where I'm at on the trees. I'm gonna let that dry, and I might do another pass. I don't know, we'll see how that goes, but I'm gonna get back to doing a little more scenery work on the diorama. I finished up with kind of a second pass, I guess you would say. And I've gone in and kind of strategically placed some bushes and dead grass and things like that in areas where I thought maybe it would grow. I think it's going to be okay. And I've also gone in and added just a little bit of this burnt grass. And, you know, I wasn't sure about that. I'm still not sure about it. The idea, I think, is because it's closer to the river, and I've looked at some pictures, and, you know, I want to come in kind of everywhere where you see the green, put in static grass, taller static grass. Now, what I'm doing now, because a lot of this needs to be permanently fixed, you know, I put the glue down, the matte medium, full strength, and I sprinkle on right where I want it so I can be kind of particular about where the stuff goes. And then I will come through with a vacuum cleaner and pull up whatever I don't want. And then I will go in and spritz and do a final pass with the matte medium to kind of fix it all in place. And so right now I've gone in with this rock material. I forgot I even had this. It's New England brownstone, and it's really good river rock. I can't remember if I mentioned in this video or the previous video, but I should have done all of this rock work at the very beginning before I painted anything. So now I'm just coming in with this finer fill material. Okay, you get the idea. The question is going to be, can I move this to a color that is complementary to everything else? I won't know for sure. I'd rather not have to go back in with white if I could keep from it. So it probably will be what it will be. Even with this color here, it doesn't bother me too much. So I think the next thing to do is to kind of fix everything that's semi-loose at the moment. As I do this, I'm wondering how far this glue can run up underneath the foam. Because I probably should have run a bead of something right up against that foam. I thought I'd finish up here with just sharing some of the materials that I make use of. And, because there's always at least one or two people in the crowd that are curious about what I'm using. And, just in case, you're someone who, this is the first video you happen to be watching. This is the dirt that I made use of on the beginning of this diorama. And it's just sifted Oklahoma red dirt. And I've got two different kind of grades of it. And I won't be using it again unless I want that color of dirt somewhere on the layout. Now, in addition to that, I have done a little experiment with the sifted masonite sawdust. And this material here, it looks to me like you could maybe use it as like flocking material for something, and then maybe paint it. Let me get my little test piece. I just put some matte medium on a real thin piece of foam here, and that makes pretty convincing dirt. And I think that's a lot closer to the color I would want instead of that. So I'm considering that because I've still got quite a bit of stuff I could saw up. I think I could get a bunch of that stuff. So that might be viable. It does swell when it gets wet, but I don't think it's going to cause any problems. Now, I also make use of what I call forest floor. And all it is leaves from the yard. And this is the coarse material. And I really haven't found any place to use it yet because it is really coarse. And even the medium stuff is a little too coarse for my liking. But this stuff I've used quite a little bit. And it works good underneath trees and stuff like that. And you don't really even need to color it. So that's some stuff I use occasionally. Didn't use it on this diorama. Now we're still kind of talking about dirt and earth. So this is the New England brownstone stuff. This is, looks like at one time it was 3 parts ballast and 3 part dirt. And I think, the ballast is the New England brownstone. I think the dirt, hold on, is this, which Arizona Rock and Minerals, Coomber's Earth, which is super fine, too fine to use as ballast, but you can use it with in-scale ballast, which I think is what I did here, but I think there's not much of the in-scale ballast left. And then I think this is a mixture of some other New England brown stuff along with Arizona Rock and Minerals. Just different gradations to kind of to get the talus that you might want in your area. This is the ballast, and let me see. This is, I believe it's HO, New England Brownstone ballast. And I like my ballast to be a little on the smaller side. So I like mixing it with either N-scale or pure dirt, I think. So there's that. Made a mess on the layout. Also from New England Brownstone is this talus stuff, which you've already seen in this video. River rock and or just scree, you know, that's fallen down the side of the mountain. The key, I think, is to put this in place, fix it, and then do your painting. And then here's some mixed up super dirt. Again, New England Brownstone. This was the fine stuff that I put on top of the coarse stuff just a minute ago. So that's kind of a gambit of what I use for earth materials. Now for grass, this is pretty much the only kind of foam grass that I like to use. This burnt grass, it's probably the greenest color of grass I will ever use anywhere. I've got some of the darker green stuff, but I don't know, there's just something about it I don't like. So I use that almost exclusively for foam. Now, I've got a bunch of other stuff, and I don't even really know where to begin with it. But I make use of this Martin Welberg stuff, and it comes, you know, in sheets, and then you just peel off whatever little bit you need and put it throughout. And there's a wide variety of this stuff, and in my opinion, I'll show you the stuff that I like the best. So this stuff I really like. I don't use a lot of it in one location. I like to kind of sprinkle it out because it's a color that in kind of in a drab area, this might draw your eye to look at something else. That's kind of what I use it for. And then we've got this, which is the Golden Summer. And these are just tufts. And I really like these. These work well for dead grass, and I guess, you know, I put it in areas of dry soil. And I think this is just called light green type F low Struken, which I think is German for bushes. And my next favorite, if I can find it, is this stuff, which again is the type F low bushes, and it's the burned green. One of my favorites. Now there's several different other varieties here. This is late summer. You can see how green it is. This is some stuff I'm going to use near rivers. Any place that could make you think that it should have lush green grass. This is sage green Struken. Again, type F, low. And there's just a slight variation between this and the other one. It's got a sage color to it. And we've got the light brown whatever, I like it, but I only use it, I use it very minimally. Where are we at now? Okay, I've already showed the sage green. Now I've got this, which is super bright green, light green, and I don't even know that I've opened this yet. This is something that I would use very sparingly, I think. And then this is just kind of a summer green, somewhere in between bright and dark tufts. In addition to the lower stuff, you also have a type D and a type B and a type A. I guess there's a type C as well, of similar kind of bushes that are already built up. And you can see the medium green tends to be my favorite of this kind of stuff. And you've also got this, which is the lavender, so you're going to have just a little bit of a purple flower on it, which is pretty cool. And you know, I think that's pretty much it. And you know, you might be thinking, my goodness, that stuff is probably really expensive. And I'm not going to, you know, tell you it's cheap, but you know, again, it's all about your philosophy. I don't plan on using this everywhere on the railroad. I'm going to use it, you know, in signature scenes where train cars are being pulled into, that kind of thing, because you can also make all of this. You know, you can absolutely make this kind of thing. And that's kind of what my plan is for the areas in between towns that are the large expanses of the railroad. I will, you know, maybe make some stuff that I can use in bulk, and then keep this kind of stuff for the areas that are going to be photographed and, you know, you're looking at while you're switching out cars. So I think I'm going to call it quits on this video. There'll be, I think I can finish up in one more video with a tree and whatever I'm going to do with the river, because I'm kind of ready to do the river, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it yet. So thanks for watching the Otter Creek and Rio Grande, and we'll see you around.